Comic Boom.
Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Justice League issue 21, where more secrets of the Sixth Dimension are revealed. And this mysterious Superman of the Sixth Dimension, it ends up that he's got a secret of his own. He's none other than the World Forger, the firstborn son of Perpetua, brother to the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor. Wow, now what's the World Forger want? What's his agenda? Well, that's rather interesting. Now, this issue basically delves right into what the World Forger actually wants. And what he wants is that he wants the Justice League to be on his side to restore justice to the universe. Because the World Forger, he's awfully upset. Because he got really upset when the Justice League screwed up and allowed they screwed up and allowed Perpetua to gain entrance into our universe. Now, even though they tried to stop it, and he admits, the World Forger does admit that they didn't exactly plan on it, and they did try to stop the Legion of Doom from freeing Perpetua. The fact of the matter is that the World Forger says, look guys, you've got no idea what we went through to cage Perpetua, and when you released her, that's terrible. And in order to prevent Doom from taking over the universe, we've got to restore justice. Unfortunately, the World Forger's plan to restore justice and to have justice win in the battle for the multiverse, it involves wiping out all those people who are bad, or who would be predisposed to be inclined to be on the Doom side. So basically what that means is that apparently that means wiping out literally half the universe. Like trillions of lives in the multiverse would have to be wiped out in order for justice to win. Now, as you can imagine, that doesn't exactly bode well with the members of the Justice League. Surprisingly enough, Batman actually gives it some thought, because the issue opens with Batman actually talking to the future Batman, namely Dick. Dick Grayson is the future Batman, and he sees that the future is really bright, but what he soon discovers is that the future only comes into existence at a great cost, and that is essentially sort of like a Thanos level plan, you know, wiping out all the bad guys, which apparently is almost more than half the universe. Sure, you're going to have justice left, but if you're going to have to achieve justice by wiping out half the population of the multiverse, well, that's kind of an extreme thing. And in any event, the Justice League reject the World Forger's proposal, and that, of course, leads to more chaos, or at least what we expect there to be chaos, because at the end, the World Forger scoops up the Justice League, and he basically sends them to the Apocolips of the Sixth Dimension, which is controlled and ran by none other than Lois Lane, or the future Lois Lane, who claims to have basically killed Superman, which is interesting. So things are really heating up here, and there's a lot at play. The information that we get about the World Forger is actually quite interesting, because he considers himself, he has the power to create form from ideas, and he can basically hammer anything into existence, and he considers the multiverse to be his masterpiece, and basically the only hope, basically. He considers himself the only hope. So when the multiverse dies, or whenever there's a crisis and it requires the multiverse to be rebuilt again, it's the World Forger that essentially builds up that universe. The World Forger knows that with Perpetua released, with his mother being released, that if the multiverse falls into the hands of Doom, that essentially it will destroy all that he has created or wants to create for the multiverse, and he doesn't really like that. So he wants to have control over what happens to the multiverse, and we don't know exactly what happened that led to Perpetua being caged, but we do know that there are judges out there that the World Forger warns the Justice League that, look, if we fail, then ultimately we're going to be judged, and the judges are going to come. And I think what he means by that is that the judges, meaning Perpetua's brothers and sisters that basically run other multiverses, that they're ultimately the judges of all things in the larger omniverse. And if these judges of the larger omniverse come to judge them, then they would essentially destroy everything. So it's almost a question of trying to choose the lesser of two evils. Is it going to be Doom that wins? Is it going to be justice that wins? We don't know. The World Forger also warned that at some point in the future, Lex Luthor is going to make an argument for people to embrace Doom as opposed to justice. And meanwhile, the Justice League now has been told by the World Forger that the only way for justice to really win is to wipe out all of Doom, which means wiping out over half the population of the multiverse. So the Justice League seems to be in a no-win situation. If the Justice League wants to create the paradise that they've witnessed, and in the sixth dimension, they're going to have to basically do a Thanos-level, extinction-level event and act by literally wiping out a lot of people that before a war even starts, they basically have to preemptively take out a lot of people before a war even begins. And that's something that the Green Lantern and the Flash and Martian Manhunter in particular, they don't like that idea. But it's really heating up here. Now, is the World Forger making all this up? Is the World Forger just misinformed? If the World Forger is there, where's his brother, the Anti-Monitor? Where is he? And where's the Monitor, for that matter? Where are his brothers? We know that Perpetua, the mother, is in stasis and in a coma and basically trying to be resurrected by Lex Luthor and Brainiac over at the Legion of Doom headquarters. But there seems to be some questions here that we still don't know the answers to, but things are really heating up, and it's really cool. And I love seeing Lois Lane, the future Lois Lane, as being sort of head of the Apocolips of the sixth dimension, which apparently is 1,000 times larger than Apocolips in our realm or in the mainstream DC universe. So this stuff is really heating up. I really like where things are going. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Mxylptlk is basically going insane because he seems to be having a reaction. He sent the Justice League into the sixth dimension, or at least we thought he did. We thought he sent Superman into the sixth dimension, and whatever's happening to Mxylptlk, he seems to be having an adverse reaction because Mera and Starman and Jarro are noticing that Mxylptlk is basically unimagining things out of existence. And there's a beautiful page spread. There's a beautiful illustrations by artist Jimenez where he's basically drawing. It's like he's drawing these colorful. He's drawing reality fading out of existence, and it looks like an artist's pencil being there, sort of erasing what reality is. And it's very interesting because Mxylptlk is basically wishing things out of existence rather than imagining things into existence like he normally does. He's doing the opposite. So whatever is happening with Mxylptlk is that he seems to be emanating a strange energy, which we assume probably is a result of what he's being infected by from the sixth dimension. At least that's what the guess would be. Or perhaps maybe he's being infected by Batmite, because Batmite is probably the other imp that might be... maybe Batmite is the imp that's playing a role here behind the scenes that we don't see yet. But it's very interesting. This also leads me into another interesting... my favorite line in the comic book, and that is by Jarro. And when him and Starman are fighting, and Jarro, who is of course a starfish, says, "Never send a starman in to do a starfish's job." So that's a great line by Jarro. He seems to be he's actually a character that is I think he's growing into my favorite character, and I'm not the only one to say that. Scott Snyder has really developed a starfish's character. Who would have thought that one of the most interesting characters would have been a starfish in this series? In any event, guys, that's about all I got to say about Justice League 21. Things are really heating up here. The art continues to be fantastic. The intrigue continues as we learn more and more about the World Forger. Hopefully in subsequent issues, we're going to learn more about the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and how the World Forger's brothers play into things. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom is certainly going to continue to awaken Perpetua. And we have the larger omniverse at play. We have the machinations of undoubtedly other characters in the multiverse. Now we've got the Justice League trapped in Apocolips in the sixth dimension. How are they going to escape there, particularly if their gatekeeper or prison guard is the future Lois Lane herself? This is really interesting stuff. Scott Snyder's really doing a good job here. I'm really enjoying this. And again, great art by Jimenez. Guys, tell me what you think of Justice League 21. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. And until next time, Comic Boom, out.